hey, it's another beautiful day in northern Maine, and I am giving some mineral to the beef cows. They just saw me show up and they're already coming in to get at it. So here's the barrel. It's been licked clean from yesterday. I get the coffee can full of the stuff. There you go. So that is a mixture of salt and a bunch of trace minerals. Now, they tell me, or they did tell me, that the cattle go for it for the salt and then they get the minerals they need. But I've also kind of experienced to some extent, and I think other people have too, that these cattle aren't stupid and they know when they're deficient in certain minerals. So I have a feeling that they can kind of pick apart and they know when they need it, when they don't. But anyway, so this cattle mineral is really, it can be meaningless or it can be completely critical to the success of your operation. Just depends on where you're at and what your cows need and what they have in the natural soils that you're on. So certain places you don't really need to feed much mineral. Maybe the cattle just need a salt block or something. But where we are in the Northeast, our soils are extremely deficient in selenium and also to a lesser extent copper. Hey buddy. So because of that, if cattle are not fed mineral here, we have a lot of problems. And I don't know, I think historically it may not have been as bad. I've been told a number of things about a lot of the soils have changed a lot since the early farming practices, and so regardless of whether we would have needed to supplement before or not, what we know right now is that we need to supplement with mineral for these cattle, at least when we're starting off on a new farm, or we're going to have serious problems. So selenium deficiency causes all kinds of issues. You can have calves that are born weak, calves that are born dead. I think there's something called white muscle disease or something. Don't quote me on it, but weak calf syndrome. There's a bunch of issues that are tied to low selenium, and we don't want that. So we feed mineral, and the way we feed it is we give it to the cows daily. Now you could go and dump a 50-pound bag out here and see how long it would last, and maybe for my herd that would last for a week probably. But you would you would be spending a lot of money, and that's one thing we got to balance with beef cattle is we're not selling a super high price product. We're selling a commodity, and we can only get so much money for it. So our expenses keep hiking up, and the price we're getting for the cattle has not been keeping up with the expenses. So you got to kind of balance. What I've learned is that I need to balance the amount of mineral I feed with the economics. While at the same time making sure that the cows have what they need. So this mineral has been formulated based on soil tests from this area and based on the amount of deficiency of each micronutrient or whatever it is. They have come up with this formulation, and then it's made by a company, like I think this one's out in New York, and so they there's a local distributor that comes up and delivers it every month or two, and I just tell them how much I need, and that works pretty good. It's how much do you feed? Well, when it initially was put together, I believe the recommended feeding rate based on how the mineral mix was put together was about 2 to 3 ounces per head per day. And we started out with that. I think we were feeding like 3 ounces per head per day. And that coffee can has like 100 and something ounces weight wise of mineral when you fill it up to the top. We were sending out 2 coffee cans of mineral here for these cattle. What we noticed is, number one, we had a lot of days we come back early in the winter. And this changes from based on time of year and stuff, because sometimes a year you notice they just stop eating mineral, and it's kind of cool because like, oh, they just don't need it. You know, more than likely what's happening is they just have already met their requirements and they don't need it. Other times they go at it like crazy, and that can depend on what they're eating and what they're getting out of their feed. So we started at 2-3 ounces. Sometimes we'd have some left over. We cut that back for a couple of reasons. One, because we were having more mineral left over when we come back the next day. And two, because the cost of mineral went from about $18-20 a bag pre-COVID. Post-COVID, it's now at, I believe it's $26 or $28 a bag. So if you go through a lot of that stuff, it can really add up. So we have, as the cost has gone up, we have actually cut back to where we're probably feeding 1.5 ounces per head per day. And we have not noticed any problems associated with that. So we're kind of going with that for now, but we kind of, you know, we'll adjust that if we see any issues. The other thing that I think is going to happen, I hope, on this ground is because the cattle are consuming the mineral here, it's getting into their systems. There's going to be some of that excreted as waste in their manure and cycle back into the soil. Over time, we may build up the amount of selenium and copper that's in this soil. I don't know if it'll be meaningful, but it'd be kind of cool to see. You know, we've been doing this feeding mineral here for 10 years on this piece of ground. So it'd be kind of cool to see if, you know, maybe part of the reduced consumption has something to do with that. I don't know. But yeah, we give it every day. We want to make sure that we don't throw a bunch in there and then a few pig cattle get to it and everybody else doesn't have any. But it seems like they see me coming or see my wife coming. She does it most of the time. She does most of the work around here. I just come and make videos. But if an animal really wants mineral, and I've seen sometimes when the calves, for a few days, they might not have gotten as much as the cows. They'll notice me coming and they'll go right to the mineral barrel and they'll be the first ones at it and they'll get what they need. So that's kind of cool to see. But you can see like half the herd, a little less than half the herd is here, and the rest of them are still out there at the hay bales feeding. So they're not dying for mineral, but they really do enjoy it, and they're taking advantage of it. So, well, that's my thoughts. If you have any other questions or comments on if you have cows and you feed mineral, what your thoughts are, love to hear it.